Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Wes. I'm painting a abstract painting today. One that I've done. It's basically a whole series of these paintings of people. I call them my captive audience series. And it's one of the few paintings I do that I don't look at a photo for, a reference photo. I just paint intuitively and make it up as I go. I started doing these sort of as a way to practice color balance and just putting all sorts of colors down and then trying to balance the colors out to where the overall image has a nice harmony to it. And I think it served me well as far as just learning to kind of trust my eye when it comes to color choice and creating unity in the whole piece. So as you can see, I'm just it's just different shirt colors and then different head colors and pants, but it's no real details in the piece. There will be no faces. It's just blank color swatches, sort of. It's interesting when people see the finished product at art shows or whatever. I get different reactions to it. Most people like it, but I get different reactions to what the subject matter is. Some people don't see the people. They end up seeing bottles or cupcakes. I've had that a time or two, or candies or candles. So some people see the people and realize that, but I just kind of find it funny. I suppose it's because I'm seeing it as people from the get-go, and so if someone sees it differently, I'm kind of taken aback, momentarily, because it's not what I intended, but I'm fine with it. People can see whatever they want to with it. I do end up putting sort of a railing behind the people, as if they're standing in a stadium watching a game, perhaps, and that helps. People can tell what it is usually. But anyway, that's not the point of the painting. It's just an interesting, like I said, it started off as an interesting exercise for me, and but became, I like the subject matter too. It's just pleasant to look at, and it kind of represents unity with all manner of people standing together. We are the world, sort of thing, But this one, I don't remember if I started off with the finished product in mind, but I am going to end up with two of these 20 by 20 inch panels, or canvases. But I started with this first one, and then you'll see in a moment when I add in the second one. And I kind of end up basically copying the basics of the first one, just to get the sizes and the density of people, for instance, in the second painting to match the first, so it becomes one scene of a group of people. As I progress the painting, I'm basically looking to, well, for different things. First, well, you can see I'm adding shadows of the people. They don't necessarily match up exactly, but it just gives the idea that there's shadows on everyone's shirts of the people in front of them. It just creates more of a atmosphere. And another thing I'm looking for is anytime two lines are hitting at the same spot, I want to adjust that to where they're overlapping in some way, so it sort of avoids confusion when you're looking at it. Basic heuristics of creating artwork. You want it to be pleasing to the eye. You want it to avoid ambiguity, unless that's the purpose of your painting, and make it a pleasant, viewing experience. Here I'm adding in those railings behind the figures. Kind of helps set it in a scene, gives it some context. Usually with the shadows, you want to stick with around the same hue, the same color, but just darken it, mainly by adding either black or the complement color a bit to the color. Oh, here's the second canvas. I already kind of pre-bluified it to get close to the other one, and I'm using a China marker, which is like a grown-up crayon, to mark in the basics of where all the people are going to go. And again, just making it up as I go. I kind of saw it as, wanted the tallest people near the center, so that it kind of creates an arch from one painting to the other, up and down. And I kind of put the painting off to the side so I can glance down to kind of match closely some of the colors. It doesn't have to be exact, but I wanted it to look good together, because that's how they're going to be displayed eventually. And again, randomly putting these colors wherever I'm intuitively thinking they should go. Anytime I have a color on the brush, like most of my paintings, I tend to try to put it elsewhere in the painting anyway, just to balance the color kind of on just on a default level. That's I think a good idea to do. For some reason, these two paintings, I added this green in that I don't think I've used that, that bright, emerald green, is it? Or it's just a bright green, which I don't normally use, probably because it gives me the feeling of Christmas with the green and the red, but I think I ended up toning it down a little bit later on. But it was just interesting that I did it this time. This is a good view, by the way, of my homemade easel, kind of in the form of an H. It's just 4 pieces of 1 by 2 inch wood, and I just have it leaning against the curtain rods back there, and I've got one piece going behind, near the top of the canvas is where that piece of wood is, and then the bottom piece of wood is where the canvas sits, and I have a little bitty piece on a screw that kind of can hold the bottom in, so that way when I paint at the top of the canvas, it doesn't kick the bottom out to make it fall. It stays on pretty well. Sometimes they'll end up falling, but I don't usually get that aggressive with my paintings. Alright, the second painting's on the left. I've kind of put them together just to get an idea of what they're looking like. Felt the need to add a little more density on the left. They were looking a little like less people were on the left, so I've kind of created another person in there, and now I'm working on the shadow areas, looks like. Getting somebody else in. Continuing the railing in the back. I honestly don't show these at art markets as much as I should, especially together. I'll end up bringing one by itself, but I do like this series. Maybe I should have an art show just with these captive audience paintings. I do like the finished product, the way it looks. I always like that in paintings, that that very plasticky look that you get from these bright colors everywhere, and very non-naturalistic, look to the painting. And of course, no details either, so that helps the style of the piece. The easel wasn't really meant for 2 canvases, so I kind of have to hold it as I go, keep them from falling. Kind of looking towards the finishing of the piece now, finding some highlights and adjusting some colors and trying out new things. I'm sure I worked on the other painting as well, but this is the last video I have of the painting process, and then I'll show you the finished result in a moment. I always go through this step also of using black to outline most of the shapes, and then I go back and I hide the black outline a bit to varying degrees. It just creates a more finished look. But each one is, obviously different than the others, so very individual looking. Some of them are more, finished looking than others. Some of them I leave some drips in, or leave some, unfinished looks to them. And if you're looking to try something new, you could try it as I did, as kind of a training exercise in color balance. Give this a try. Just, if you don't want to do people, you can come up with some other theme or some other subject matter, or just go with totally abstract squares if you want to. Before this series, I did a series called my Civilization series, where it was just basically landscapes. This kind of came from that, I suppose. The landscapes were very, primitive art looking, where you would keep some basic colors and you'd break up any big shapes with, blotches here and there, and then any kind of buildings would just be squares in varying colors. And that was where kind of I started practicing this color balance, this intuitive way of balancing the color in a painting. I don't think I've done this series before on YouTube, but it's one of my more frequent series that I return to from time to time. And this is coming near the end of the video now. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've gotten something out of it. Like I said, try it yourself. It's a fun exercise, if nothing else, and maybe you'll come up with something of your own that you like. thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.